Good morning, everyone. My name is Alex Berry. I'm the virtual room host today. So we're going to go ahead and get started here in a few minutes, but just a few housekeeping items. As you come in, if you could mute your line, and then please feel free to unmute as we do our questions and answers throughout the presentation today. If you have additional questions that you'd like answered, please enter them in the Q&A section of the Wahoo app. It's to the right of your screen right now. And after the breakout, we will ask everyone, if you are able, if you could rate the session. You should get an email, a mass email from the conference organizers, as well as the ability to rate it right in this breakout. And again, please let me know if you have any questions in the Q&A in terms of any technical issues you run into, and we'll do our best to address them. Thank you.
All right, we go ahead and get started since it's noon. All right, everyone. Well, welcome. It's really great to have you all here in the Credit for Prior Learning workshop. My name is Candace Rose. I am from Palomar College. I am faculty in media studies. I teach cinema and film production screenwriting. I'm also at Palomar College, our Credit for Prior Learning coordinator. I also work with our military leadership program, so I'm tied in with that as well. And I do some technical review for curriculum. So I sort of have this other background. Palomar College, about, gosh, it was over a year and a half ago, we were chosen as the pilot college for the Credit for Prior Learning initiative through the state with the Chancellor's Office Success Center. There was a small mini grant that our college received, and myself and my articulation officer, Ben Mudgett, and I worked together with our one of our amazing deans of workforce education, Nicole Rowe. And as a subgroup of our curriculum committee, we started the Credit for Prior Learning work group. And so we are probably about maybe a year ahead of the game, if you will, of the other colleges. And part of our task with this grant was to document our processes and provide any best practices, materials, things like that, that could help our colleagues in all of the other community colleges around the state. As some of you may or may not know, the mandate to change, or I should say to pass Credit for Prior Learning, to start offering students actual credit for the learning they've had in the past instead of just waiving credits, came about by Governor Brown, actually, back in 2018. And as of this December 31st, in all of the community colleges in California need to have their policies in place. They have to certify that they have their policies for Credit for Prior Learning in place. So today in this workshop, I'm going to give you a nice overview of Credit for Prior Learning, some of the practices for both for faculty, for counselors. We're gearing it towards our counselors in particular, and also just working in student services and things like that. Oh, awesome. And Tina is here. Fantastic. So this is like perfect timing. So I'm going to also pass it over to my colleague who's presenting with me today, and that is Tina Barlalong. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it to her so she can introduce herself.
Can you hear me? Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Tina Barlolong. I am the Veterans Counselor at Palomar College, and I'm very excited to be a part of this program with Candace, the Credit for Prior Learning. I think that it's going to be a great opportunity. It's going to provide quicker pathways for our students to get to where they need to go. So I'm just really excited to be here, and thanks for joining us today.
Awesome. So looking at sort of our group of participants here, we've got a good group that are joining us, and I would love to get to know just a little bit about you or where you're at with your with your knowledge of credit for prior learning. So I was thinking if you could put into the chat, maybe say hi, you could post where you're from and what college you're at or institution that you're from. And then if you could put in there if you are new to credit for prior learning or familiar, you could put both in. So if you're new to it, if you're familiar with it, or very familiar with it, very experienced with it, if you could pop that into the chat right now, that would be great. And that would just give Tina and I a chance to kind of see who's in the room with us today. So you should see the chat feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you're not seeing it, click on the three little dots that say more, and you should be able to see the chat feature or option.
Can actually everyone do that in the Wahoo app? Sorry,
I forgot we're not all on Zoom. Never mind.
Okay.
Alex, can you tell them how to chat and then report back to me?
Yeah, sorry. No, I did this in the last session. I caused chaos. Yeah, if you could put it in the chat function in your Woohoo app. So to the right of your screen, there's the Q&A, and then there's the chat. And if you could enter it there.
Okay, so I'm not seeing that because I don't have that open, but can you just kind of give me an idea of, because we don't have a big group. So if you can just kind of mention who's here and kind of their, if we've got people that are new to credit for prior learning, if they're familiar with it or very familiar with it.
A lot of people are new. We have our regional director for advanced manufacturing, Rashawn, Chris, counselor from Mesa College, new to CPL, Amrita, our district dean of career at the San Diego Community College District, very familiar, but mostly with out-of-state initiatives.
Oh, okay, great. All right. This is fantastic. Well, welcome again, everyone. So I just have a question, Alex. Do they have, like, I had an idea of having them do annotate, like, do they have their access to Zoom, or is everything for them through that other app?
Most people on here will likely be through Wahoo unless they ran into a technical issue.
Okay, that's fine. Then I'm just going to utilize you. And you'll just be busy. It's fine. We'll do it that way. All right, everyone. Well, let's go ahead and get started. As we're going along, feel free to pop questions in, like Alex was saying. I do have a couple of stopping points in the slides that we can use as a good opportunity for asking and answering questions as we go along. So feel free to pop those questions in and we will be sure to get to those for you. Okay. My goal and Tina's goal today is not only to inform you and give you information before you leave, but to make sure that we answer your questions and also give you some tools and resources that you can bring back to your college. Okay. So you'll see here from our first homepage of the slides, we've got our credit for prior learning. These are actual Palomar College students. And these are programs that are currently eligible for credit for prior learning within our college. So we've got our military students within our military leadership program that Palomar now offers, some of our fashion students, and then our automotive technology as well. So just a general, what is credit for prior learning? And this is the definition that's sort of been adopted by our chancellor's office. It is college credit awarded for validated college level skills and knowledge gained outside of a college classroom. Students' knowledge and skills might be gained through experiences such as our military training, our industry training, the state, federal government training, some volunteer and civic activities such as like the Peace Corps, and then any apprenticeships, internships, work-based learning, or industry-based learning. And some of the benefits that, and you guys will have access to these slides as well from the conference, but some of the benefits are that, you know, most Californians who could benefit from CPL are people of color, and it also validates learning that has occurred. It saves money and time for our students. It increases employer partnerships, and it aligns with guided pathways. So there are so many reasons to be offering credit for prior learning. And just as a little background, I kind of mentioned when the initiatives were passed, in Title V, what the state did is they took credit by exam and they changed it to credit for prior learning. So credit by exam is one of the methods of assessment for credit for prior learning. But now we have an umbrella that includes credit by exam, portfolio assessment. The traditional AP, IB, and CLEP fall under this umbrella. We've got our industry certification, and we've got our military transcripts as well. So all of that now falls under credit for prior learning. So these are some of the highlights from Palomar. And I broke it into, Tina and I broke it into these sort of 4 categories, which I think might help you to think about the approach for credit for prior learning, because it really does take a team. It takes the whole campus. This isn't something that just one person can do by themselves on campus. So institutionalizing credit for prior learning, which has been really our task over, especially this past fall at Palomar, summer and fall. So engaging those stakeholders, our faculty, student services, administration, articulation officers, or counselors, you want to do that right from the start and keep them in the loop all along the way, because you're going to need all of their support. Getting your AP and BP policies in place as well. We at Palomar created a faculty credit for prior learning coordinator position with release time. So at your college, identifying how does your college want to approach this initiative and implement it. This is now state mandated. It's part of our accreditation, so it's not a choice by the colleges whether or not to offer credit for prior learning. So figuring out how you're going to do that. Some colleges are doing committees and work groups and dividing the work. Some, like at our college, we opted for one coordinator position with some time and release, because we felt like having one person who is kind of leading the charge is what we needed. Reporting out to our faculty senate, our curriculum committee, and any other important groups on campus is important. Aligning our CPL with our guided pathways pillars has been very helpful as well. Transcribing credit for prior learning, and then also our statewide partnerships with not only the Chancellor's Office, but I would say the Senate as well, the statewide Senate. And then identifying on your campus, when you start rolling this out, identifying those champions, right? You've already got faculty on your campus who have already been waiving credits. They've already been having students come in, like in our automotive, for example, we'll have students who have been trained through maybe Ford and have gone through their entire training program. And the faculty have been waiving the initial course so they could get into the more advanced course. Well, the challenge with waiving the credit is now the student still has to earn those 3 credits if they want to get that certificate or that degree. And by being able to now award them the credits, this is saving time and money, and it's validating that work experience. So if you can find those faculty champions, I promise you they're going to come to you and say, where have you been? We've been waiting for this. This is exactly what we wanted. Those are the great ones to start with, and then you'll start to get more and more faculty interested and on board. So right now, Palomar has 99 eligible courses for credit for prior learning, and we'll show that to you in a moment on our website. We created a Crosswalk inventory sheet, kind of an internal document, which is our initial, like, here's how you get started working with our faculty. We'll show you that. And then also just providing good professional development. With our counselors, I'm going to let Tina just kind of highlight a little bit what we've done with credit for prior learning with our counselors.
So we've done a lot. We're still in the process of finalizing our form in terms of what that process looks like. But in terms of what we've done with counseling, there's a lot of information that's going out there to let them know that this is a program that's available and that we're going through this process. So a lot of times it's just me right now. And then in terms of just identifying students who would benefit from this program, just having that point of contact, and then having our pathway in terms of following up. And I can't stress how awesome Candace is, because a lot of this information that's on this particular slide, a lot of it was Candace. And so I've been kind of behind watching it all kind of come together, and it's coming together, and it's very exciting to be a pilot program for the CPL program at Palomar. So Candace, you're awesome.
Thank you. Well, and I also want, to give a shout out to Tina too, because Tina has stepped up, and I would recommend this on your campus as well. She has stepped up to sort of be our lead counselor with credit for prior learning. And that has made the experience much easier, because when you're first starting out on your campus and trying to figure out the process and just working through everything, it is nice to have one person that I can keep going back to and saying, okay, so we changed this, or I can ask Tina, what do you think? How should we do this? And so that's been very helpful to have her as our key point person. At the same time, we're doing some professional development, meeting with our counselors, keeping them up to speed. We've kept the chair of the counseling program in the loop the whole year and a half we've been working on this. So she's very aware of what we've been doing. Having her input and all of that is extremely important, because as students, that point of contact is really it is going to be our counselors. And one of the things required in Title V is that our students are well informed, and they also get to choose whether or not they want the credit for prior learning. We're not just going to award it. We need them to make that informed decision and choice. And with transfer is still, there are some things that are still up in the air at the state level when it comes to transferring certain credits over to the CSUs and UCs. Only the community colleges are mandated to do credit for prior learning and award credit for that. The CSUs and the UCs are not mandated at this point. There's discussions happening. I'm hoping within a year, maybe, all of that will be worked out.
And then one more thing I wanted to add to that, in terms of working with veterans. I've been working with veterans for quite some time. I'm in my 5th year as a counselor, but prior to this, I was a certifying official for VA education benefits. And I can tell you that it's a game changer when I talk to students who have been trained in these particular fields, like networking, computer science, and geographic information systems. And instead of having this conversation about, well, your military credit really is just going to cover area E for transfer, and you don't have to take PE in health, PE and health are requirements for an associate's degree. You get more credit for this. So it's a game changer when you're working with particularly student veterans, and having a conversation about, hey, we've got this program where if you decided you wanted to pursue this particular program, we have the CPL process by which you would be able to receive that credit, so you don't have to repeat those courses and waste your GI Bill on taking classes on things that you did in the military for 4 years. So that's a really big highlight, and it's an exciting point for us.
Yes. That's the whole reason, right? That right there, you just summed it up. Like, that's the whole reason to do credit for prior learning, is it's for the students. And that's a great segue into the student experience. So one of our goals at Palomar is we really want this to be a great experience for our students, and we want it to be easy. We don't want the onus to be on them. We want to make this process easy for them. So some of the tools we have created or are in the process of creating, we have a student intake survey that helps to not only inform students about credit for prior learning, but identify them as well and direct them to Tina, to our counselor, for a CPL counseling session. It also allows me as the coordinator to be able to go in the back end and pull data and see who has filled out this survey and who has indicated that they would be interested, so that I can also reach out to them as well. We have a credit for prior learning website, which lists all of our courses, which is our sort of one-stop shop, if you will, for the students, the counselors, the faculty to be up to date on our all of our credit for prior learning eligible courses. And we are in the process of finalizing our electronic credit for prior learning approval process, or petition form. And then also we've developed some great partnerships with our military partners. Palomar College has Camp Pendleton within our district. And so we have, we serve the most active duty Marines in the state. So we do have some good relationships with them as well, because credit for prior learning has allowed for that. All right, so we're gonna move on. So just getting started on your policies by now. Your college has already started, I promise you. Someone somewhere on your campus has started on their policies because they're due December 31st. But just some tips if you're still working on it. You know, we are a single district, so it was a little bit easier for us. If you come from a multi-college district, it's obviously going to be more complex in getting policies passed. But at the Palomar College website, which you guys are welcome to go to while I'm going through this presentation, feel free to have that open as well. If you just type in CPL or Credit for Prior Learning in our search, you'll bring up our website, and I will be showing that to you later in the presentation. We have our policies listed right there for you. Palomar College helped, with the help of the Success Center, created what was called a toolkit. You'll also see that on our website under the materials and resources page. And in that toolkit, we also have our policies. So that I recommend, our policies have been passed by or approved, I should say, by the Chancellor's Office. And so your team could just use our policy and take from that, modify it as, you know, as your college sees fit. But ours aligns right with the Title V and the 55050 for Credit for Prior Learning. So make it easy. You could use that. Make sure, obviously, that you're in touch with all the stakeholders, because to get policies passed on campus, that was a big learning curve for me, was to figure out how do we do this in a timely manner? You know, how do you get a policy passed? And so I had to get those resources and figure out these deadlines and timelines and work backwards to be like, okay, we need governing board approval, we need this group's approval, you know, and went through, and these are the dates, they only meet once a month, you know, or whatever, and figure that out. And be sure to include your administration in this. We have some really awesome administrators at Palomar who were just huge champions for this. Our current president, Jack Kahn, he was our vice president of instruction when we first started this initiative. He's very supportive, and our new vice president of instruction is very supportive. And so that helped a lot to have their backing and support. Okay. All right. So we're about to jump into Credit for Prior Learning processes for our faculty, and this will kind of walk you through some of the tools that we're using to implement this. Are there any questions at this point?
Yes, we have one. Let me read it so I get it right. From George, does the credits earned count toward the semester for full-time student status?
Tina, I don't believe so. Tina, do you know the answer to that?
So it's probably not, because in terms of full-time, like how it's going to be on the actual transcript, it's going to have some type of indication that credit came in, but it's not going to count towards full-time status if in terms of use for financial aid and or veterans benefits, because for veterans benefits, what's reported to the VA for housing or for any type of VA education benefits is start and end dates and how many units they're receiving. So it would be acting like external transcripts, you know. So if a student had taken this class at another institution, that would come in and they wouldn't need to take that class. So in terms of whether or not they would count for those types of programs, they would probably not.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, and I have a question just to follow up with that. So in the past, has credit by exam counted towards their status? I don't think it does.
No.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't. But is this George that asked that question?
Yeah.
Okay, so for all of you, and I can't pop it into the chat, but maybe Alex can pop it in there. You can email me at CPL, so Credit for Prior Learning, cpl@palomar.edu. And at the end here, I'll also have both Tina and my emails on there as well. And so that you can email us. If you would like to, if you could email me that question again, I can also pass that on to our articulation officer, Ben Mudgett, who's also worked. He's our partner in this. He's just not here today. And I can get that question answered for you accurately. Like I can get you definite. Because because right now I don't have a definite for you. All right. So feel free on any of this, you guys feel free to message me or message Tina. Okay. So let's jump into the next section. All right, so our credit for prior learning course crosswalk inventory sheet. So this is something we came up with at the sort of beginning. Myself and Ben, our articulation officer, would meet with our faculty. And for some, it was an hour, and for some, it was maybe a couple of hours. But what we did is we used this spreadsheet, and we would list out the courses within their program with their course name, unit number, and then we have this sheet across the top where we have a checklist because we didn't want to miss anything. So is it a transfer course for a CSU? Is it a transfer course for a UC? Would credit by exam with a pass-fail be appropriate for this course? Would credit by exam with letter grade? And the way that you need to, the way that Title V states it is if your course offers the option for students to earn that grade in the course or do it as a pass-fail, you would need to do the same thing when it comes to like credit by exam or portfolio assessment where you could do a grade. If it's military transcript coming in, I think it would just come in as a pass, and the same with industry certification. So we went through, and the faculty need to determine, is this going to be, you know, does this work for military? Is there a military transcript or military training or education that would equate to this course? Would portfolio assessment be a good method of assessing, or an industry certificate? And they can select it on this sheet. This spreadsheet is on our credit for prior learning website at Palomar College under the materials and resources page. So you can have it. You can use it with your faculty. It's internal. So here's what we did with this. Once we got our 12 faculty together and they all had a spreadsheet, I actually created the spreadsheets in Google. And what was nice is because I created them and shared them with the faculty, now I have access to them. Well, I use this data, this information to help build our website. Like this is our inventory. So I was able to create an inventory for our website, a spreadsheet, but this inventory is also now, we are in the process at our campus working with our instruction and our student services team. They are coding, let's see if I word this right. They're coding the credit for prior learning courses and putting identifiers on the methods of assessment into a database. We use PeopleSoft at Palomar. So they're creating like I think they call it a value or something like that, where now that information can be pulled into our electronic form. So when students select that they want to petition for, let's say, Auto 100, it's in the drop-down box because we have identified those courses specifically for credit for prior learning within our system. And that's as technical as I can get. So if you need more information, you'll have to message me and I'll put you in touch with the technical people. All right. So that's why this form has been so helpful. And then another tool we have, or another thing we're doing, is if a course is identified as having a portfolio review or credit by exam option. So fashion is one that's doing that. Architecture is doing that. And even our geography class is doing both portfolio and credit by exam. Well, the way we've set it up is portfolio review can be whatever the faculty determines is necessary for a student to demonstrate their prior learning. So not just work experience, but actually the learning that took place. And it may include a resume. It may include letters of recommendation. It could include demonstration, like with the fashion. I know they want photos or videos of students actually demonstrating some of the work, things like that. So what we are doing is we're creating our Canvas course. So each credit by exam or portfolio course that a student petitions for gets created in our system. That's how they will be awarded their credit. And we have the Canvas shell that we can use. So through our petition process, it gets determined that they're petitioning for the portfolio review for fashion. They'll meet along the way. After they do that, they meet with Tina, and Tina assesses and makes sure and informs them that this is the right step for them. Yes, it is. She signs off. Then it goes to the chair of that department. And however that department has set it up, they may meet with the student first. Some of our faculty have created little videos to inform the student. This is what you would need to do a portfolio assessment, and make sure that that is the right step for the student. We don't want students to go through this process if it isn't. Then if it is, the student gets enrolled in that section and they can upload their information right into Canvas. ePortfolio is a program that's free. It's already connected to Canvas. You'll find it under your account in there under Folio. And we even have great videos on our Palomar College website that teach how to use this portfolio. The teacher assesses it, faculty looks at it and goes, and the other set to this is they need to have a rubric. So all of our faculty that do the portfolio review and or with their credit by exam will either have a rubric or a set exam that has been created by more than one faculty. So we want them in a team of at least 2, maybe more within their department and discipline. They come up with this great rubric that you can see down here. Now, every student that wants to petition for that particular course, Fashion 100, will have the exact same opportunity and experience. So regardless of which faculty member is doing the assessing, they all are using the same rubric. They all have the same process, the same method, because that is essential to credit for prior learning. It's even in the Title V that this needs to be equitable. And so that is one way to assure that. In order for a course at Palomar to become credit for prior learning eligible, to get onto our website and in that database and to be identified as credit for prior learning, the faculty have to basically get signed off by the credit for prior learning coordinator, our articulation officer, and also the chair of the department. Basically like, did you do your rubric, and so on and so forth, so that it's fair and equitable and they're ready to go. All right. And this rubric, if you are interested, is also on our website. You guys are welcome to have it. It's a template and you can use that with your faculty to modify as needed. So you can see how important it is to have our faculty and our counselors involved in this process. This is just an example of one of our faculty that put together for geography. This information can link from our credit for prior learning website back to their site, has a video. Here's what you need to do. This saves the faculty time. Instead of walking every single student through the process, instead they can just have a short meeting with the student, determine that this is a really good next step for them. Here, watch this video, and then they have the opportunity to create their portfolio. Military. So military credit and ACE recommendations was a new world for me. I don't know how familiar all you are with it, but ACE is the American Council on Education. It's been around, I think, since the 1940s, and they have been assessing and reviewing military training and education for decades. They have a very rigorous, I would say, review process that always involves a team of faculty, usually from around the country, that will review these material or these trainings, and they have to be experts in their field. So you can feel confident that you can use the ACE recommendations. There's a military guide, there's a website, and this is just an example of a JST. I'm not going to go into great detail about how to do this because it is a little time consuming, but essentially either a student will come in with their transcript, their JST, and it will have these identifiers. So this is Marine Corps and this is the Recruit Training Master. You can go to this website, put in course search, and you can pop in this ACE ID right here. This is just a screenshot. It's a small condensed version of what you're going to find on ACE that will be very detailed on what they learned in that course or that training. This allows your faculty to look at that and to compare it to their own program and decide if they want to, if it works, right? If they can give credit for their courses. So this particular course is basically stating like these would be the courses that students could get credit for, something like that. We have found at Palomar that we have, how do I say this? ACE recommend on the ACE website on their FAQ page. So if you were to go to this military guide FAQ, they actually do state in there that some colleges go beyond their recommendations and use other forms of credit for prior learning assessment to award credit to our military students. We are actually doing that at Palomar. We're using portfolio review as well. Some colleges may add additionally onto that, but we have found that we are able to go beyond ACE recommendations for some of our students in some of our programs. So that's been very exciting to be able to award those credits to our students. And this is one example of that. We're in contact, or I should say, a gunny sergeant from the Marine Corps reached out to me, and I met him through doing our military leadership program. He is an instructor at the Marine Corps Communications Electronics School, and his students in this particular school go through 600 plus hours of training in Cisco, in networking. Well, I connected him with our computer science faculty, and between the two of them, it took a little while. They spent like a semester with some meetings. Our faculty looked through their program of instruction. They looked at our course outline of records, and through this collaboration determined that these students actually can qualify for 7 courses or 22 units of the CSNT credit, plus even 2 elective units towards a certificate or AS degree in computer network administration with emphasis on Cisco. So all of these courses. So these were students, if you went by the ACE ID, would not get any credit for this, because this happens to be, this gets a little complicated, but this happens to be not a course, but an occupation. So the recommendations are very general, because there are Marines with this on their transcript, this occupation, who do not have this training. It's like a broad occupation, and they can have different kinds of training underneath. And so we were like, wow, that's where portfolio review is perfect, because these students can demonstrate through not only their JST, but maybe a letter from their commander stating that they went through this particular program. But these students spend more time learning, going through Cisco than even our students do. And I don't know if you're familiar with Cisco, but it's basically an outside organization that has like curriculum, and they update it every so often. Like, I would say curriculum, but yeah, I guess curriculum that has to be met as technology changes. And when we update our program, the Marine Corps is updating theirs as well, and their equivalent. So we're very excited about this, because now these students are only 2 courses away from getting a certificate in this program, and they could continue on with their associate's degree as well. Let me see if I'm about done. Okay, I am. So questions, anyone, for anything I just covered?
And there's no questions in the chat.
I just wanted to add, this is a perfect example of how a student could obtain that associate's degree very quickly using their military experience, and completing a lot of the general education in the green. That's all general education that obviously it goes towards any associate's degree, and also works towards transfer. So when I talk to students who might have this particular occupation code, then it's like, well, we get to talk about, you not only are going to petition for graduation in these particular programs and associate's degrees and certificates, but we could also have this particular associate's degree. And this is very helpful for students who are looking for an opportunity or an area where you can check that box that says, yes, I have an associate's degree for employment purposes. And so a lot of times folks are just looking for, I just need to get a degree. I just need to be able to mark that box that says that I have the degree. And this knocks out at least a year, right, of courses that you would have otherwise taken. And it just works. And all you would have needed is just these 2 courses, and you can register for those and be done with it. So it's awesome. This is a great example.
To that. Yes, I'm glad that you have. And what a validation, right? this Gunny that came and spoke to me, he basically was like, listen, I know that my Marines know this. And I've looked through all your materials and they should be getting credit, but they're not. And so, you know, from his hard work and our faculty's hard work, we were able to determine this. And what an exciting opportunity for these young Marines. The ones that are going through this program are privates and corporals, many of them, so they're younger. And what a great way to get them started with their education. It looks like Jacob has raised his hand. Go ahead, Jacob, you can unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
First off, yeah, so I was an intern at Palomar. I did my counseling internship in DSPS and athletics. So I know a lot of counselors. I just want to say thank you for the hard work. You know, I'm talking to our personnel every single day. And, you know, when helping them, advising them as far as deciding on different pathways for schools, obviously my heart's at the community college level, but this is a big factor. This is a big factor for them making a decision, because obviously, you know, there are certain schools, other schools that are, you know, they say they offer a lot of JST credits and whatnot. But when I see a visual of this really helps me articulate to them the value of going the community college route and the options that allows them, you know, as well. So I just want to say thank you for that. And I know this is something that gets brought up daily for me in my, you know, 7 to 10 counseling appointments I have every day. So I just want to say thank you for the hard work, and it really is of value to me.
Thank you. Yes, this is one of those, gosh, when we put this together, I was smiling the whole time. It's very exciting. And I wanted to, you know, to also add that there are opportunities at each of our colleges for these kinds of things, right? And so this is, whether this is, you could do, I guess I'd say like articulations with industry within, like all of us have our communities around our colleges. We just happen to, Camp Pendleton and, you know, our military students are within our district, but I would encourage all of you to take back to your campuses or start thinking outside of the box. Does that make sense? Like start thinking like, wait, what if we, you know, if you have, I'm just gonna use Ford because I know with automotive, there can be some articulation, right? Or, you know, some crossover. So, you know, maybe you have some industry within your area and you have these opportunities to take a look at your courses and you can provide these opportunities. One of the arguments, I would say, against credit for prior learning that has come up in some conversations, I would say a question is, well, if we award them all these credits, then they won't take our classes. Here's the counter.
You have your residency. You have to have your, you know, at least 12 credits of residence. So there's that too.
Right. And that's exactly it. But the counter argument to this is, here's what's so great about credit for prior learning. And you'll find these articles on that I've already put links to on our website. So when you need this extra ammunition, if you will, or information for your campus, right? The statistics show from nationwide, we're actually behind on credit for prior learning. The nation has been doing this. The statistics show that students that earn credit for prior learning are our working adults and our military students. These students, when they start earning credit and are validated for their work and experience, are the ones that have higher retention rates. They are the completers. They are the ones that are going to continue on, and they're going to either go out into the workforce or they're going to continue on with their degrees. So these are students that might never have gone to college. So if that argument comes up, well, then they won't take our classes, flip it around and go, no, we're capturing the students that have already been working out there in the industry. And now we've made it easy for them to go to college while they're working full time, while they've got family and children and all those other things that are going on in their lives. We have given them the incentive, and these are the students that are going to complete. And as we all know, completing certificates and degrees now is very important, right? That's part of our funding. So just, you know, shift the perspective and show the positive and show why this is so important. And it closes the equity gap. As we stated at the very beginning, this is an awesome opportunity for our students with all kinds of backgrounds. So, all right, so the next part's important too, and I'm just looking at the clock. I want to make sure I get through that. So these are some of the things that we just covered that we've worked with our faculty with. Now let's talk about the student service side. This was a little more challenging for me, not because this is a challenging group, not at all, because this was an area I wasn't that familiar with. I'm faculty, that's my background, so I wasn't sure how all of this worked. I have learned along the way, and hopefully this will help you. So institutionalizing it, I highlighted student counseling because that is key to this, and having a real partnership with our counselors is really important. As I mentioned earlier, we institutionalize by creating a coordinator position, and you might, or it could be a committee or task force, working with your support staff and your administrative support. So one of the things I did want to touch on here, and Tina, you can speak to this, is if we could take just a couple of minutes to talk about some of the transfer challenges. I mentioned earlier that the CSUs and UCs are not mandated to accept our, so if we award credits, like let's say we did the portfolio review and we awarded that military student the 22 credits along with the additional 2 classes, and they get our certificate of achievement in our Cisco networking, and they continue on and get their associate's degree. If they want to transfer on to the CSU or the UC, we don't have a guarantee that those credits will be accepted. They might, but it comes down to the faculty within their programs until the state creates a mandate that says you need to accept these credits. So Tina, can you speak to that a little bit, kind of about maybe the difference between credit by exam and so on and so forth?
Sure. So what Candace is talking about is, once these credits are issued, or they typically would work, well, right now, currently, they'll cover the requirements for certificates and associate's degrees. And so in terms of transfer and military credit, it's going to go by case by case basis in terms of the institutions that would be considering whether or not they would take those credits. So that's where it's like, it's really hard to be in a place where you're the counselor and you're talking about, well, you're going to be able to get this associate's degree, but if you're thinking about transferring, the credits might not transfer as easily. That's always been the case with the UC schools. So in terms of military credit and what that counts towards, they've always counted towards transferable electives towards the CSU system, but the UC typically hasn't taken military credit. So we're currently working with our articulation officer. Ben it's been something that Ben has been working on, and so it's, unless things have will change with the UC schools and the CSUs, and until there's some type of policy that would open those gates, then it also adds to the work that needs to be done in terms of what schools would accept what, because that also goes into the programs. So currently, though, I mean, for the associate's degrees, I think that it's beneficial, because a lot of times, as Candace had mentioned, many of the military students, they have huge lives outside of their role as students. So they work full-time jobs, they have mortgages, they have families. And so these are steps towards advancing in other areas for them. So then a lot of times it's like, that conversation of, not every student wants to transfer to the university. There's that. Not every student wants to have get the bachelor's degree, but they do want to get that associate's degree or certificate, so it could advance them in other areas in their life. So we're currently working on that.
We are, and another workaround that we've done is most of our credit for prior learning eligible courses also offer a credit by exam option, and it's specifically for students that say, I want to get credit for prior learning, but I want to go to the CSU or the UC. I want this program. Then we would guide them, or the counselors would guide them to take this course as a credit, to take it as credit by exam, not portfolio, not industry certificate, because that will be accepted. That has always traditionally been accepted, along with the API being CLAP. So then we don't have to worry. Now, here's the other thing. National University, ASU Online. There are programs out there and colleges that will accept our credits. We have an MOU with National University for our military leadership program. When we met with them last, we asked them about credit for prior learning in particular for all of our students in all of our programs, and they said, absolutely, we'll accept that. So it's not that a student can't go on and continue with their bachelor's degree. They just need the education and guidance to know where can they go, where will this be accepted if I get this as a portfolio assessment. Okay, so just something to be aware of. And if you do have more questions, particularly about that, feel free to email me. And then I can also forward that to both Tina and Ben, our articulation officer. He's very knowledgeable in all of that. All right, couple more slides here. So we have an intake survey for our students that we put together. It's like 6 basic questions. Our students who register as new students at Palomar College are already taking a survey for our math and English placement. And so we tacked on 6 questions, I think 5 or 6 questions for credit for prior learning. So we're using that tool. We're also going to provide that survey within their what we call My Palomar or Student Services. So that can be another place that they can access it if they're already a current student. And then we'll be doing a much bigger campaign of marketing and advertising in the spring. We just want to get our petition form done first before we like really roll it out. So this is our website. And let me just quickly see how many slides I have left. I can't quite remember. Okay, cool. So this is our website. Oops. And I do want to show this to you. I'm going to jump back and I'm just watching the clock here. I'm going to jump back and actually show you the website in a moment. I have to unshare and then reshare my screen to bring that up. So this is a great resource that I'll show you here in a moment that you guys can all access. This is a sneak peek at our petition form. The students' ID and actually phone number will be automatically populated. We're doing this all through our connected with our PeopleSoft. They can select the course, the term, and the method of assessment. They would get this information by looking at our website. Then the next step would be they meet with, right now would be with Tina, with the counselor, and just make sure that they selected the right course, that this is exactly what they want to do, that they're informed of everything is about transfer. And then that form can go to the next step and the next step and the next step. And also sending out notifications and alerts along the way. So this is like, when this is done, I'm gonna celebrate. Okay, transcribing. This is the first time I think Tina's been able to see this. I was just in a meeting yesterday. We are almost done with our transcription. So I've had many people email me and say, what does your transcript look like? Well, here you go. Here's some snapshots. So you're going to see it's required by ACCJCR accreditation to list your prior learning assessment. And then this one is for military credit. This one particular ACE ID. Now this is all examples, you guys. This isn't like real. I haven't double checked all this. These are examples. I probably should put draft. You know what? I'll put drafter examples on this to make sure, because I haven't double checked that this works. I just gave them info so we could test it. Okay, so these courses are awarded, and you have the credits right here, and you have the semester. We did it for prior learning assessment portfolio listed right here, the grades they received. And then also down here, we have prior learning assessment credit by exam, and then prior learning assessment industry certification. So again, I'm going to go through, I should have done this. I did this morning. I got to put draft on these because I don't know if they're all like real. I don't want anyone contacting Ben and saying, Candace said you're doing this. All right. So 3 actions your colleges can take to offer students CPL opportunities. Reach out to your faculty champions, identify those courses, identify your counselors, keep them informed, and then streamline that process for students and make it easy for them. Here's where you can get a hold of us, the CPL at palomar.edu, and then Tina's is Barlalong at palomar.edu, and you will also have access to these slides as well. Let me quickly show you our website. I'm just going to reshare here for a moment. Cool. All right. So I encourage all of you to go to this website and check it out. There's a lot of information that will help you. This first page is just one clean, hopefully it's clean and easy to understand. That was my goal for students, what it is. So imagine a student stops here. This is information. This is the course list I told you about. And what's cool about this is it was designed to be a sort. You can sort by either the degree or certification, the assessment method, the Palomar Pathways meta majors, or the discipline. So if a student knows, well, I'm military, then they can select this, and these are all the courses that will accept military transcripts. But then maybe they want specifically the STEM classes. Okay, that leaves computer science and geography. And you'll notice that we put very specific information like the ACE ID into the notes section. Like this one, our GIS teacher, he had all of this information already for me to go so that the counselor and students can look right at that and see, oh, hold on, I on my transcript, I actually have this. Cool. Then this is a good class for me to do. Okay. So check that out. The other thing I wanted to show you on our website is, hold on, come on. So we've got a student resource page with some links to, our veteran services and things like that. Faculty resources. This is a really good one for you guys. If you want to share this with your faculty, we actually put the steps in here of here's what you need to go through. Here are the 14 steps to, and I know it looks daunting. It's not. To make your course CPL eligible. It's not that daunting. But I mentioned to you about portfolio and ePortfolio. Click here. We've got some really good videos on how to use ePortfolio, and everybody has access to it already through Canvas. It's owned by Instructure. They bought them. That owns Canvas. So you can all use it. And then finally, this is the page I've been talking about all day, or all hour, all day. And these are these resources for you. All right, 6 minutes. Questions? Anyone have questions?
Rushan, do you want to ask your question? I saw you put it in the chat a few minutes ago. I didn't know if they had answered it at this point.
Sorry, trying to navigate. Yeah, my question was, who will be eligible other than students who are from military? I guess it sounds like what sets CPL apart from the other 4-credit, non-credit would be the experiences that they already have or are currently experiencing. Is that correct?
Yes. So the main candidates for credit for prior learning are going to be your working adults. So if someone has been through the Ford training because they work in automotive, or you've got someone in business that's been working in business and they already took the QuickBooks certifications. Those are the students that are going to benefit for credit for prior learning. Think of the students that have already been getting credits waived so that they could get out of a course to get into the more advanced course. Those are the ones you want. Those are the ones that are going to benefit because now they should be able to get the credits, not have a course waived. Does that help? Okay.
There was the other example we had recently where a student had was knowledgeable and fluent in ASL. So we didn't have that in our system yet, and so Candace went through the process by which talked to the department chair to have credit by exam established, so that a student could get those credits and then have those posted on the student's transcript for Area C or humanities.
Yeah, so Tina brings up a good point. Go ahead, Rushan.
Oh, so I think that's really good news because in any industry, I guess, sometimes we take on jobs or tasks that we don't take on when we were doing our normal, even associates or degree, right? So I just feel like this could have been expanded to a lot more different sectors that way, because I have friends who are doing data science, but they have no data science degree. But that's a good way for them to just get certification for their current learning.
Yes, that's exactly it. And that's where you can all go back to your colleges and try to think outside the box. You know, especially, you know, if you're in administration, this is like, just think about your community. Think about who's in your community and reach out to your community and let them know that these are some opportunities, and create those relationships with the faculty. And this is just super exciting. So good. One last question? Anybody have another question? All right. So we're kind of towards the end here, wrapping up. So I just want to thank you for joining us today, joining Tina and I. And if you have any questions, feel free to email either of us. Like I said, you will be getting, I guess, I don't know if it's a link to the slide or a PDF, but they're going to provide that for you.
Well, thank you, both of you, for your very good presentation. Just everyone on the phone, the materials will be in the Wahoo-va app. Right below the presentation right now will be the presentation slides. And as you have the time, if you could please rate the session right below the video screen there for you. It says rate the session, I believe. And with that, have a great day. And if you need anything from us, don't hesitate to reach out.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.